You had a discussion recently with two complete studs coming into the program in Lorenzo Lingard, regarded as possibly the best running back in the country, and Jarren Williams. Just your perspective on these two premium athletes after having a discussion with them.
When you have a situation where you have two early enrollees who are as highly ranked as both of them were, you know, a quarterback like Jarren Williams and one of the best in the country as far as running backs go as Lingard, they could potentially be the future of Miami. You know, they could play at the same time. They could be your 1-2 punch. You don't necessarily expect two people like that to necessarily hit it off immediately. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But what's interesting with them, obviously spring ball starting in early April, so still a little more than a month away. Just in those couple months that they've spent together, I mean, they've already developed kind of a really good relationship. When I went up and talked to them, they're already kind of, you know, having like the conversation you see people who have known each other for a couple of years. At least that was kind of my vibe from it. And they seem to kind of, you know, when good friends are kind of finishing each other's sentences, they were kind of at that level, which, I mean, on the field's on the field, but when you have guys who can communicate like that off the field, it can't hurt, you know? So I talked to them a little bit, and they were just talking about how right now they're just lifting weights with the teams and they're just working out, but they're already trying to gain that camaraderie, to try to get that those relationships going with some of the other players that are coming back. So it was good to hear those type of things, but especially with each other, it seems like they're already kind of have a close-knit bond. And my vibe from Jarren especially is he seems like he's ready. He seems like a type of, they both recently turned 18, but Jarren seems like a guy who, you know, when you kind of say mature beyond their years situation, that's kind of the vibe I get from him. He seems like he's aware of the pressures that will come, being, you know, possibly the future quarterback of Miami, and I believe I get the vibe that he's ready to work and he's ready for the situation. It seemed like a really mature guy, and both of them seemed like they had a pretty good relationship from the start.
And when you say 17 to an old guy like me, Isaiah, it's just, again, it brings to light the amount of pressure and responsibility placed on these guys coming out of high school. Sure, they benefit from the attention, the exposure, maybe some benefits here and there. But at the same time, the level of pressure and responsibility is something that is generally unmatched for anybody of that age in any other walk of life or any other endeavor, where they're just anonymously going to selecting their college, going into a certain major, and starting their career or starting their studies to work toward a career, where these guys are basically starting a career right now that's going to be seen by millions of people on a weekly basis. And so there's an amount of pressure there that I think we don't necessarily take into account.
Yeah, absolutely. You forget, like, even me, I mean, I'm a junior in college and I'll be 21 in a month. And when I look at these guys and they're all built and they all have facial hair, and, you know, you forget that they're kids, you know, and they're a couple of them are a couple years younger than I am, and they just got here from high school. And you talk to them and you can kind of sense that, like, wait a second, yeah, they're young, they're just having fun, you know, they're coming here, they get to go to college to play football, you know. So it's just kind of like having the understanding that they're still kind of taking it all in. And I got that vibe a little bit, but at the same time, definitely they're mature in what they're expected of at Miami.
Yeah. And at the same time, in 7 or 8 months, they're going to be lining up against the likes of Florida State and have 80,000 people streaming at them, and all sorts of comments made about them on social media if there's a wrong decision or a dropped pass or a burned coverage or whatever. And that's something they're going to have to deal with